Hi and welcome back to our course. So in today's video we are going to talk about iteration or loops, and we are specifically working on the count control loops or for loops. So we have two different type of loops. One is condition control loops, which are while and do whiles, which we'll study later on, and the other one is count control loops, which are implemented using for. FOR, and that's what we are going to study in this lesson. So the loop is called for, and this is the syntax. So you create a loop between these two lines. So when you say for and you create a variable here, so here we created a variable called x. For x equal to 1, so x get assigned with 1 to 100. So from 1 to 100, whatever command we have here between this line and this line, the one which is next x, these commands will get repeated 100 times. And you can change this to any variable, starting from any number and going to any number. But the point is, these loops are count control, so it will run a specific number of the times. So the count control loops are good if you know exactly how many times you need to repeat these, and it is good also for, there are multiple use cases for example, calculating the totals, calculating the counts. For example, let's look at this example that we have here. So we have for x equal to 1 to 100, it will print hello x is comma x. So it will print first 1, and then in next run of this loop it will print 2, and then it will create a variable called y, and that assigns it x plus 10, and also creates another variable called total, and total is total plus 1. So it's just random variables. So you can do such calculations inside a for loop. Let's go to our code station and let's do a couple of examples and practices to see how exactly for loops and count control loops are. All right, so let's start with a very basic example. So I want to print numbers from 1 to let's say 20. So I will create a loop, because I can create a print command and print for example 1, and again I can print 2, right? You can always do it like this, but it's not scalable and it is not the right way to do it. And you can copy paste these commands 100 times to print between from 1 to 100, right? But this is not the way to do it. So we are going to create something, a for loop. So we are going to create a for loop, and let's use a variable called I. I is a variable name which is normally used for the for loops. I don't know why it was like this from before, and still people are using it. And I'm going to start from 1 to let's say 20. So for I, from 1 to 20, I'm going to print just I. So I'm just going to print the value. And so for I from 1 to 20, I'm going to print I, whatever I is, which is a number, right? And at the end of the loop, end of the for, I have to put next and the name of this variable. So I here and the I here should be the same. You cannot put something else for the next P or something else, okay? It must be I. So let's run this program, and you see here it is printing from 1, 2, 3 all the way to 20. And you can print other messages also. You can mix that with something. For example, the counter is now, whatever that I is, it will print, some other messages in the front. So this is a very, very basic example of how exactly the for loops or the count control loops work. And you can have multiple lines here to do something else. And we can also count what is the total of all the numbers from 1 to 20, right? So I will create another variable called total, and I assign it to 0. And here I'm going to say total is equal to total plus I, whatever I is, right? So why I created here the total and assign it to 0, because in this line, let's say for the first time, whenever this program is running, it takes total and it needs to be total. It should have something in the total. If you have not defined it before earlier, this will not work. So that's why I created and defined and assigned a value to the total in the line number 1. And so here the total is being added. I can print also the total here, so because the total also will increase during the program, just to see how it will increase. The total is comma total, and at the end also I will print again the total just to see how it works. And let's see, the total is 1 3 6. You see here, every time it is adding the number, the previous number, to the total. So when the total is 190, the last number, the counter is 20, so 20 gets added to 190 and the result is 210. So this is the loop that we also use it for doing some calculations or calculating some total number. Okay, so let's do another example, a multiplication table. That's gonna be nice, easy to use. So we need to write a program that asks the user for a number and use a for loop to print multiplication table from 1 to 12 for that particular number, right? You may remember this is your year 3-4 plan for the mathematics in your primary school that you need to learn and learn the multiplication table, right? So we need to ask the user for a number. So I'm going to create a variable called number, okay, and I'm going to say input, please enter a number. Okay, now I need to make that as integer because I'm going to use it as a number. Okay, I'm not going to use it as a string, that's why I'm going to convert it to the integer. Now I need to create a for loop, okay, to print the multiplication from 1 to 12 of that number. Okay, now my for loop is going to be from 1 to 12, right? So I will create a for loop. I will create a for loop here for let's call it J this time, you know, whatever you like, you can count it, from 1 to 12. Okay, and what do we need to do? We need to print the multiplication table. So first of all, we need to multiply that number that we have with whatever J is, right? And I can do that with, I can store it into another variable called result is equal to number times J, and I can print that, print result, and I will put it next J, right? So this will just print the number. So if I put 2, so 2, 4, 6, 8 all the way to 24. Now to make it nicer, I can print a better message also here. So instead of printing this, I can do it like this. I can make it in this way that I can print J, right, comma, times X. I put X because in human language X is multiplication sign, right? And I put, so J actually is our the first number, and then number is the number that user has entered, number, comma, and I'm going to put the equal sign as a string and comma result. Now this should give us a much beautiful printout. So user entered 2, right? So I entered 2, and 2 times 1 times 2, 2 all the way to 2 times 12, which is 24. Now if I run it again and I say I want a times table for what, 18 for example, So 1 times 18 all the way to 12 times 18, which is 216. So this was a for loop, and we created the table of the multiplication from 1 to 12. So this is how you create the for loops or count control loops. But you always need to know you can use this kind of loops when you know exactly how many times you need to run your loop. If you don't know exactly how many times you need to run your loop, you have to use a condition control loop. Okay, that's very important. So if you know exactly how many times you need to run the loop, the for loop is the answer. All right, I think that was all about it, the for loops, and I will see you in the next lesson.